Hey, I hope you're all doing well. I kind of wanted to keep this build, I suppose surprise is a wrong word. I wanted to talk about it in its own dedicated build video, and it is going to get its own dedicated build video. It's just, I'm going skiing, I'm hitting the slopes over in France for a week and a bit, and I didn't want my channel to just be completely dead whilst I was away. I mean, it technically will be completely dead whilst I'm away, but at least getting something out before I went away. You know, a cool new build for people to tinker with and try. And yeah, I wanted something out, so you know, there was something for people to use. I am going to start working on this ASAP once I'm back, as well as I've got two other builds planned for Titan, both of which I've used and have been really, really good, and one for Hunters too, which I've really been enjoying. All of them are Sage Protector builds, so I'm sorry to those of you who don't like using swords, but honestly, that armor set in my mind is probably the best one that they have done. It does so much cool stuff, and so many builds across every class. Titan, Hunter, Warlock, they all have just really cool interactions that come from just having really spammy grenades and really spammy class abilities. I mean, the one I did recently obviously was for Warlock. That is my biggest video to date. That thing clocked in at almost an hour. I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't, but I ended up chopping a lot out of that video because, you know, it was coming along in time too much. You know, I obviously get the metrics on how long people watch those videos for, and yeah, I saw kind of people were obviously watching for like a decent chunk, but I was like, yeah, you know what, I don't know if people want to be here for an hour and a half of me talking about builds, or at least, you know, all of those Warlock builds. Anyway, it was a it was a big enough video. Whole point is that it was using Sage Protector, and that is what the other builds will be using. Just as I said before, such a cool armor set. I think my favorite in the game, probably next to Smoke Jumper for enabling really kind of glass cannon melee builds. Looking at ones like the Spectral Blade Hunter that I did a while back. You know, they're just, to me, they're mod setups where they are so kind of like fundamentally changing to a build and enabling something, compared to something like, I don't know, Bushido's two-piece. You know, it's like, it's a good armor set, but it's just a heal. Whereas something like Sage Protector's four-piece, it like completely can enable a build to work. That's why I love it so much. And I think it's just really cool, man. You're kind of getting a, or at least if you've been watching up to here, you're getting the gist of what this build is doing, which is a load of class abilities and a load of grenades. And in this build, or at least in this build, in this subclass, in Arc, you've got Storm's Keep and Touch of Thunder, both of which you can spam till your heart is content with this build. That is the entire idea about what is going on here. It's a build where basically all of the power is stuck into your class ability and grenade. I'm using Ballistic Missile, I think is the name of the melee, but I'm not really using it that much. You can see what I'm using a lot of the time, which is grenades and thruster. Grenades are then releasing ionic traces from Pulse, although you can absolutely use this with Storm Grenade. That is a seriously cool way to run this, and you kind of get like these mini little lightning storms roaming around. Seriously cool version of that build too. Probably the way I would think about it is Storm is the more damage focused one, and Pulse is kind of slightly more survivability focused and ability spam focused because you'll be making ionic traces. But yeah, they're both absolutely fine versions. Sage Protector 4-piece gives you enough regen in both of those abilities for it to kind of, as in for the build to just still work. But yeah, as I said before, Touch of Thunder and Storm's Keep, they're used to kind of put as much effects into your grenades and class as possible. And yeah, that is literally what the entirety of the build... English and good. That is what the entirety of the build revolves around, and it really plays off of that. If you're watching this and you're saying Praxic Blade, please don't leave a message being like, oh, another Praxic Blade build. This is more of a sword build than it is a Praxic Blade build. It's just that Praxic Blade is a really good sword and I'm still really enjoying using this. So yeah, if you're still liking Praxic Blade, it's a great sword in the build. Although I have been running this with Ergo Sum Arc Conductor, which is absolutely bonkers. The thing gives you so much ability regen. Again, this is something that I talked about in the many ways to Riftlock video on the channel. If you're a Warlock main and you're for some reason watching a Titan video, go watch them. It's very, very cool Warlock builds. But yeah, same thing as that as to why Ergo Sum is so good. Just absolutely spams class abilities better than any other sword in the game would. One other thing which I have been using in this build, which has actually been working to some pretty good success, is Buried Bloodline and a Arc Sword. I say Arc Sword. Arc Sword is what I was using in the times I was using that, but it doesn't have to be an Arc Sword. Anyway, that's against the point. It's kind of Devour against, or lined up alongside Amplified. And then, sorry, I've completely not even talked about the exotic here. Crest of Alpha Lupi. If you're wondering why for an Arc build you're staying healthy, part of that is Dielectric. This build will get a little bit weaker when Dielectric kind of leaves the seasonal artifact, although, you know, we've just got an extension to the season, so we might have Dielectric ground for a little bit longer than maybe some of us would like. That's aside the point, though. It's a really good artifact to have in the build because it's going to heal you on killing arc debuffed enemies. You've got Spark of Shock on the subclass, and then that makes your grenades jolt. So you've got a lot of ways to heal in the build. But then Crest of Alpha Lupi is kind of going to be the evergreen way that you're going to do that. That's kind of the core thing of the build. If you're also wondering why a little blue bar is appearing on the top of the screen, this is a build which loves to use I've completely blanked. Class. High class stats in the build. This is also a build which is so hungry for stats. You want weapon stats, so you have ammo for your weapons, and just so you deal a little bit more damage, but the main thing is ammo. Especially the case if you're using Ergo or Buried Bloodline. Not that you have to use Buried Bloodline, but it's probably one of the ways I've recommended to. I've kind of got most of the script done at the minute, and the things that I'm recommending in there are Buried Bloodline with just a good heavy sword, or Ergo Sum, or Praxic Blade. But yeah, sorry, getting back to what I was talking about before. High weapon stat, really good for making more ammo. I think with Praxic Blade as well, the moment that we lose kinetic synthesis, the one where you kind of deal damage and then you make ammo bricks, I think once we lose that, the thing is going to become quite a lot less reliable. So having weapon stats is going to be really nice. And then this build also wants to run grenade stat so that you're recharging grenades quickly, but also just so that they're dealing more damage. It also wants to be running decently high super, just because you kind of do. It's a really good stat to have. I'm running double dino... Oh, actually, wait, no. Sorry. I think I previously was running double dynamo, but I'm now running double super font on the helm. I think so. I have to check at the end. I'm pretty sure at one point I was going for a mod setup of triple distribution and double dynamo. If you've seen any video that I've done that talks about class spam, you'll know that is a mod setup that I adore, because the thing just makes supers so insanely quickly. And I was using that, but I just found that if I wanted to have high grenade stats, I'm having a moment. High class stats and high weapon stat and high grenade stat, and then also high super stats, it was just way too taxing on your stats to have those at good values. I really kind of wanted to have my weapon be as high as possible and my class also be as high as possible. Ideally 200 in both, but I'm not even sure if you can do that in stats. Anyway, sorry, to circle back around to where I was before, I changed my mod setup to just go fully for fonts. So double super font on the helmet, double grenade font on the arms, double... what did I go for on the legs? Sorry, double weapon on the legs, and double class on the class. And then one thing which I'm using specifically for this build, which I wouldn't recommend doing on the Storm Grenade build, is I'm using Elemental Charge. I'm pretty sure that's the name. I'm not doing good with names today. Elemental Charge, I think, where you pick up elemental pickups and you progress your, well, kind of like your, like a counter towards gaining armor charge. And then in doing so, you're able to keep all of those fonts active without needing any kills. Obviously, because Pulse Grenade with Touch of Thunder is just going to be making Ionic Traces. So you'll be kind of fed a lot of armor charge very easily. So it was a really nice combo, and through that I was able to just get good stats. So you're not necessarily doing anything crazy with your mod setup like what you might have seen with other builds, but you are just getting really good stats, which is really, really good in this build because, like I've said before, if it isn't already obvious, this build is hungry for stats. It eats them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so just having them high is really good. I'm trying to think about what else in the build. Super doesn't really matter. I was using Fist of Havoc just because it's cool. This is also an unstopped GM, so it was really nice to have the blind on the heavy attack. But yeah, I don't know. I was just there thinking it's a nice kind of get out of jail free card to have a roaming super. And also pairs up really nicely if you have Thruster in your super. Obviously you get 90% DR when you're in a roaming super. Often Goldie, but you know, that's kind of like a separate case. But it's really nice to just play insanely aggressive with Fist, and then just the moment that you get anywhere close to low health, which is already pretty difficult to be honest, you just Thruster, and then that's a really nice heal from Crest of Alpha Lupi. I suppose one thing I'm kind of umming and ahhing over is whether I mention using barricades in the build. The difference between Crest when you have Thruster and Crest when you have Barricade is like significantly different. When you place down a Barricade, you have much greater heal. I think it's something like 160 for health, 110 for shields. It's essentially a full heal. You use it and your health is just entirely topped off, pretty much. There's like a little slither at the end that isn't. But then you also get this effect where you deal damage. It depends on weapon frame behind your class ability, behind your barricade, and then you will release again, I can't English. You release healing pulses. Jesus, release healing pulses, release healing pulses. Say that 10 times in a row. And then you, release healing pulses, and then whenever you heal allies, you also get class energy back. It's pretty cool, but the one thing that is so nice about Thruster is the feel of it. When you place a barricade, you kind of almost get, like, it's sticky. That's the best word I can describe it, is that your barricade is kind of like sticky, and you're kind of like drawn towards it. It's like you pop the barricade and you're using Rally because I think it's set on a 55-second cooldown at base. Don't quote me on that. That's from the in-game tooltip, which is unreliable at the best of times. But yeah, the barricade, it's like you kind of drop it, and then it kind of like the game is kind of like, hey, are you going to sit behind this because we've just put you into a crouch, and it slows you down. The feel of it is the one thing where I'm, again, umming and ahhing over whether it's something I actually include. For me, the one thing that is so important about a build is the feel of it. And even though I would say that the barricade is a more powerful effect, I just don't know if I can recommend it, knowing that it's kind of not like a good. No, it doesn't feel bad, it just doesn't feel as good as Thruster. I think if it's not already obvious from the footage, you know, Thruster is keeping you more than healthy. You're getting overshields much more often when you have Thruster, but the big thing is just, again, the feel of it. It's so much nicer, especially when you're using Sage Protector as well. It's so nice to just do light, 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 heavy, and then really quick Thruster. That kind of cadence, that feel, it's just slightly off when you're using Barricade. If you have watched up until this point and you're really kind of wanting to try both versions, I'd encourage you to do so. They're both really powerful, but yeah, for me, I think Thruster's just that little bit more interesting to use, feels better to use, and for me, that's so important. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm thinking of maybe cutting is the Barricade version, but yeah, I don't know. I think I have to play with it. It could entirely just be a skill issue on my part and just not using it well, so therefore it feels bad. But yeah, Barricade is by far the version which I've used a lot less of. But again, that's just because I don't know if I like the feel of it. So yeah, no, one I gotta try when I'm back. For your fragments, Spark of Shock is where a load of the jolt from the build is coming from. It's pretty important. It makes this build literally be big time with overloads, which is so nice, and loads more damage as well. It's just really, really good. You've got Spark of Magnitude. That makes your grenades... yeah, it makes your grenade... I'm pretty sure it's Spark of Magnitude. I'm going to say Spark of Magnitude. I think that's the one that makes your grenades last longer. I'm almost sure it is. But it will make your Pulse and Storm Grenade last longer, but it also affects with Storm Grenade at least the mini Roman Storm that you make with Touch of Thunder. So it's a really nice damage bump. Pulse Grenade also with Touch of Thunder gets some damage scaling the longer it kind of lasts for. So having it last longer is really nice. And I think it also spawns in, I want to say, one more Ionic Trace. I think when I was testing that in the firing range, it was one more. It's either one or two. You get at least another Trace, which is great because obviously Traces are at base 12.5% ability energy, but you can see when you go over, I believe it is 70 in a stat. If you're looking at the class ability, or at least have been paying attention to the abilities whenever an Ionic Trace hits you, you'll see some big chunks. That's obviously affected by the cooldown of abilities too. You know, kind of Thruster and Grenade based on them aren't going to be getting the same ticks off of Ionic Traces, but yeah, it's really, really nice to have that last a little longer. I'm then also running Spark of Resistance. As you can tell, this build is really brawly. It gets into fights so much of the time, so it's surrounded a lot of the time. So having that extra little bit of DR, really, really nice. And then the last one is Spark of Frequency. It just makes it so that whenever you gain Bolt Charge, whenever you're amplified and you gain Bolt Charge, you get another stack added on top. The way that it works is that it's per each stack that you get another one added on top. So with something like Praxic Blade with Impact Core, that's a reason why I'm using it. You will be making one Bolt Charge, but when you have Frequency, you'll be making two Bolt Charge stacks. With something like Storm's Keep, though, it will only be 6 Bolt Charge stacks, and then that will go up to 7 when amplified. So it will just add another stack on top of whenever you get one. It's really, really good paired up with Praxic Blade. If you're using this alongside Storm's Keep as well, it's really nice in that you can do a little thruster dodge or drop a barricade. And then if you're amplified, you can do light hits. That will then discharge Bolt Charge. And then your overhead attack with Praxic Blade counts as like a load of hits, so will instantly get you another Bolt Charge strike. Yeah, it's some really, really solid damage. Not that you're using it that much in this build, but Bolt Charge is also melee stacks. But yeah, I mean, you can see how much this build is focused on using the sword in the build. So yeah, that's kind of nothing too impactful that you get melee energy. It's more just a nice little bonus. And I'm trying to think what else. Talked about mod setup, talked about seasonal artifacts, talked about weapons you can use. Oh, sorry. There is one change I will make to my fragments depending on weapons I use, and that is if I am using Ergo Sum. Really, the Ergo Sum that you should be using is Arc Conductor. The thing is just like far and above the other Ergo Sums in ability regen. Sorry, I'm not wording good today. It's just the best when it comes to ability regen. Every single chain lightning hit will count as an individual sword hit. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that it also does build up Bolt Charge stacks, as in the chain lightning that comes off of Ergo Sum. So it's a really nice combo in that your class ability... Oh, dude, now I'm worried. Sorry, I don't want to kind of misquote something and then people be like, oh no, that doesn't actually work. I'm not sure if I've tested that actually. I think it was something that I was supposed to test and then I was busy doing something else. Anyway, I think the idea was that it was supposed to be you use your class ability, that gets you Bolt Charge, you then do a heavy attack with Arc Conductor Ergo Sum. All of the lightning strikes that get shot off from the sword will then build up Bolt Charge stacks, and then because the ability regen is so good, that then gives you another class ability, and yeah, you just loop lightning strikes over and over and over and over. That was the idea, but again, I don't think I've actually tested it yet. But I will after this video. Actually, tell you what, if you're watching this, I will pin a comment because it's going to be the thing that I'm testing literally immediately after this, so I will let you know. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else, if I'm missing anything. Exotic is done. I suppose, not that it's something that I use in this build anymore, but originally I planned on doing this as an armamentarium build, and it was okay, but I just found that I was really missing that healing in the build. I mean, it's going to sound stupid, but an armamentarium run at the minute, as in specifically today, or actually it's the day after that I'm doing my voiceover, but the day when I was doing this, it was Grenadier as the kind of like good bonus effect in the GM. So you probably could have got an absolutely ridiculous clear with armamentarium here. But whenever that wasn't there, I just found like the build missed out too much on healing. I was originally going with a setup that was using Powerful Attraction on the class item, and then using, I think it was double firepower on the arms, and then armamentarium just by itself gives you 1 free firepower, and then I was relying on better already in recuperation, alongside the overshield that class stat gives. Entire idea being that whenever you have an overshield, any damage that takes will stop any... any damage that the overshield takes means that any health getting regened underneath is kind of like protected, if that makes sense. So your healing would never be interrupted, which was nice, but again, I was going into minus 50s. Whenever it was anything that was slightly difficult, it just was missing out too much on healing. This build, honestly, you get just as many grenades if you're using Sage Protector's 4-piece, right? That build was one that was also using Sage's 4-piece, but honestly, I don't miss it, and the healing, I think it's too valuable to pass on. So yeah, that was a version that I was using, but since dropped it. And yeah, I think that is everything for the build. I'm trying, yeah, I know I've said this a few times, but I'm just, oh, okay, I remember this bit. Where is the shield bane? I was sat there thinking like, okay, is it there? and then look across and I'm like, where is it? I think in the end I actually just run past them because I was like, I'm not going to be able to kill this thing. Oh, you know what? I think now that I've just watched my own footage back, I think I've literally just seen it on the left-hand side. Oh, that's actually kind of annoying. Okay, there it was. Oh, no, man. Oh, well. Anyway, at least it wasn't run ending. In fact, I'll tell you what, I think the last time that I did this, it was on my hunter. Maybe not the last time, but I suppose the most memorable time. It was on my hunter back when it was like the old GMs. It's weird that we now have new GMs and old GMs, but like the old difficulty of GMs, it bugged out on me. Dude, I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed when that happened. I think it was something to do with like not reaching a checkpoint or something. I don't know, but yeah. I suppose I might as well talk about other builds that I've got coming up. I know I said it just before, but they're going to be Sage Protector builds. I've got one for the Hunter, which is really cool. It's a build that also has some really good survivability, and also, I know something that my Hunters suffer with a little bit, it's survivability that doesn't come from any kills. You don't need to kill anything in order to get healing in this build. So yeah, it's really, really cool. It's very stealthy, quite slinky, little assassin-y, very, very fast when it comes to making supers. A cool build, I was using it in the GM that we have just had, which was... it's one of the ones we have to free the prisoner. I can't remember the name of it. Like a battleground or something? I don't know. It was one of those ones. But it was doing really well in there, and the only problem with that strike is that the moment that you get to the meatball, it just becomes kind of boring to watch. That's one thing that I also care about, is like if I'm going to kind of stick up on the channel some 30-odd minute run of a GM, it's at least got to be entertaining. That's one thing that I like about Sunless Cell, is that it's very fast-paced, and this boss is really, really fun, but I mean, the rest of the GM is too. But yeah, that one, it's just so slow. It's just really, really slow. An annoying boss to try and hit with a sword too. So yeah, the footage just wasn't looking good, so I kind of stopped recording on that one. In fact, I fully plan on getting some footage in for the Hunter build in this GM, and then also for the other Titan builds that I plan on doing. Warlocks, I'm not actually going to be doing for a little bit, just because the last video was so stonking massive for them that I think they've got fair treatment enough in, you know, getting some builds recently, so I got to show love to the other classes. I think it will be the Titan one next, and then it will be Hunter, and then I think Titan, and then Titan again. I might actually bundle... Oh, wait, no. Hold on, sorry, I think it's 4 builds I've got planned for Titans. It's this? It is. Yeah, no, sorry, it's 4 builds. There's a 4th one, actually. Okay. I think it's going to be Titan, Hunter, Titan, maybe Warlock, Titan. I don't know. I gotta see. Sometimes it's just the build that speaks to me the most is the one that gets the best treatment. So yeah, I have to see. The Hunter one is really cool, but this is also like what you're watching right now is also such a fun build to play. I've really been enjoying it. So yeah, this is definitely going to be the first one. I'm trying to think what else. I could talk on the state of the game, but I feel like people have said enough, and I kind of don't want to be a downer on it. I'm just going to stick with making builds. In a sense, the way I kind of see a build is that it is content in itself, as in a good build can just be entertaining. So I'm going to keep on making them. I'm still really enjoying putting builds together. So yeah, I'm not going to be doom posting or going anywhere. It's just going to be more of what you've seen in the past, and maybe some other stuff, but the biggest thing is just time. There's not enough hours in the day, and I really do try to use them all well. It's just work, and then wanting to make my stuff of a decent quality too. Yeah, it's it's a lot, especially I think the most daunting thing was obviously the Warlock build that I did recently. Taking 3-minute chunks out of them. Actually, no, I think towards the end it probably got more just as I got more into the swing of editing that video. But, you know, looking at that and then just seeing it go down like 3-minute chunk, and that would be a day. 3-minute chunk, and that would be a day. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, kind of daunting to look at and face at first. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that one turned out. And it's kind of like my piece de la resistance on the channel. And it was also cool to make a video that long. I wanted to do one at some point, and again, I said this in the video, but all of those builds felt similar enough that it kind of felt right for them to be inside of one build video, but different enough that they obviously all deserve their own spotlight. I really do think all of those builds are kind of same, but different. Apart from maybe the dive lock or the Phoenix Dive Starfire Protocol build. That one is like truly a weird, wacky build, and pretty good. Like a pretty damn good build. It was the one that I think it was actually this GM that I did it in, but same kind of thing that you're seeing here, where I'm going to sit in front of the boss and just smack it with a sword. Same thing that the Phoenix Dive build could do. So yeah, it was cool. I don't really know where I was going with that actually, but at this point in the video, I normally just yap about just random stuff. So yeah, who knows? I'm literally just talking for the sake of talking at this point. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, I got some emotes done. That's something else I got done on the channel. I'm maybe considering doing a stream. It's just I feel like I'll be really bad at doing it, because I don't know. I've never done it before, but I made some emotes at least, and I kind of want to make. On one hand, I was thinking of opening memberships on the channel. On the other hand, I really hate seeing this channel as something that is like my money-making machine. I don't see this channel as something that makes me money. I see it much more as something that makes me passion. Or makes me passion is like a little passion project that I can work on in my spare time, and you know, work on video editing and stuff like that. I find it really fun. And yeah, I really don't want to get into this state of mind of seeing this channel as something that is here to make me money, because I think that's going to put me in the wrong mindset. The only thing that I do at the minute is I run ads at the start of my video, but I haven't run mid-roll ads, and I never will, because I'm a massive advocate for like what I see when I watch the final cuts of my video in Premiere Pro is what you should see too. And yeah, I don't know. I really just hate that kind of like slimy, grimy, seeing viewers as like seeing viewers as dollar signs. It really sits wrong with me. I don't know. I'm not going to rant about it, because that is something that I probably could rant about for a short while. Anyway, build stuff. You're seeing what the build can do, where it just sits under a boss, and because Alpha Loopy can be spammed so much, loads and loads of healing. It's a really cool build. If you're watching this, I'd highly encourage using this. And I would also say that you're probably going to like the builds that I'm going to be doing for Titans next, because they're very like this coded. A lot of grenade spam, a lot of class spam, using class abilities as ways to heal. It's a really satisfying loop. I think it's going to be... this is obviously Arc. I know there's 2 for Prismatic, and I know that there is going to be 1 for Stasis. The Stasis one is genuinely really surprising in like how good the build is. It just absolutely tanks and shrugs off damage, just a ridiculous amount. That's one where it's kind of like up there for being probably a most survivable build in the game. Maybe. That kind of depends on how you play. Anyway, subclass. Super, anything, thruster, melee can be anything to pulse or storm, storm's keep, touch of thunder, resistance, frequency, shock, and magnitude. And then Praxis Blade, Impact Core, and Hyperblade. And I'm doing nothing. What's going on? Okay, there we go. Crest of Alpha Lupi. Oh, that's another thing. It makes more orbs from your super, which is nice for your teammates, I guess. There's my stats. You can see kind of a bit over the place. I don't have amazing Sage Protector armor, but I've got high enough stats in the ones that matter. So yeah, that's kind of like the big thing. And then here you can see, yeah, literally all the fonts possible. Double grenade, double super, charged up, elemental charge and weapons font, and double class. And then there's your artifact. That, though, is about it from me. My voice is going hoarse and dry. And yeah, I'll see you in a little bit when I'm back from a trip.